there's a cartoon I make called Jerry Jackson.
I love Jerry Jackson.
It's very unpolitically correct.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the BBC, in the height of the hysteria of cancel anyone who's made a joke that might be a bit offensive. I think that they preempted people combing over all their archives to find something they could be offended by.
Wow.
And they probably thought, Jerry Jackson, we don't need this on here. We can quietly remove this. And then in the process, quietly removed a lot of other stuff that I put up.
Dystopia tonight. Dystopia tonight.
Hello.
Hey. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks. Thanks for saying those nice things about me. That's nice.
You're welcome. Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. It's so surreal because I literally did my friends and I used to you were like the advent of the internet when all that stuff came up. So like we watched you. We watched your work anyway, your cartoons, Salad Fingers and whatnot. Just consistently. It was parallel with the internet. That's what we watched.
Yeah, it's weird. People often say to me, "Oh, you were the first guy to go viral," and I was, no, I wasn't. It's like 5 or 6 years of people going viral before me. It's just they just kind of forgot all the other ones, I guess.
Yeah. Well, they're not as important.
Well, I mean, you remember like the little flash films, like hamster in a microwave or whatever it was, frog in a blender. They were all they were the viral hits when I was just watching
the classics.
Yeah.
No, I do actually. It's funny that you say that. I do remember those, but I don't think they were like yours were at least almost episodic in a way. You know what I mean? Like it was consistent, and you looked forward to them coming out. Frog in a blender was just like, holy shit, what is this?
Well, I didn't even have the internet when I saw that. I had that on a CD. When people used to bring around a CD of stuff they'd downloaded, and they'd just be like, "Oh, I downloaded all this stuff off the internet. Do you want it?" And you'd be like, "Yeah, I want everything. I want it all." It'd just be random videos. There'd be like one kind of mildly gore video, and it'd be like, well, "That's a bit messed up." There'll be that kid hitting his dad with a shovel. Have you seen that video?
Yes.
That was like an early viral one. I remember that was always on a CD. Then there'd be some. There'd be always like these spoof MasterCard adverts as well.
Yeah,
that was like an early meme.
Oh my god, yeah. I had I remember that too. You're right. They were on CD and stuff. It was like CD. My friends and I would drag stuff off the internet because that was when it was fun. When it was like it would be like random clips from TV shows, shit you had never seen. I remember how like crazy getting clips from South Park was because it was just like like a little AVI video thing would pop up.
Yeah.
And I never knew. I mean, I don't think I watched the show when I was younger or was allowed to watch the show, but it was like scandalous to go online and like get a clip of singing, Cartman singing Kyle's Mom's a Bitch. I thought it was hilarious.
Oh yeah, that was the reason I went on the internet in the first place. It was 98, and I just wanted clips of South Park. That's all I cared about back then.
Is that one of your early influences?
Oh yeah. I remember thinking, if they can make it look this bad and make it funny, and because before that I was looking at cartoons thinking I can't do this. This is Simpsons. This is a lot of work, and then they've just got a bunch of like shapes moving around on a screen, and it's funny, and it's funnier than the Simpsons. I just thought, well, great.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing for comedians when we see somebody super mediocre on like Colbert, and you're like, fuck, I can do that. Like that's not hard to do.
Well, I think that's with comedy. I mean, often the most mediocre ones get the furthest. Like the ones who've just got it down to like really neat. It's like not necessarily funny. It's just really neat, very neat jokes that have no one misunderstands them. They're very sharp. They're very quick. They're very neat. Fairly funny, but not exactly the sort of ones that you're lying in bed at night, kind of chuckling when you remember.
Yeah, I agree. It is weird that it's like I was talking to a bunch of friends, a bunch of other comics recently. We were talking about how like we don't always know when we're watching people why they're funny. Like they say a clever thing and the audience elicits a laughter, but I think it's just recognition. I think it's just the same sound and the same like cadence followed by something that you kind of think should be elicit laughter. So the audience just cracks up and you're like, what the fuck about that sentence was fun? You know what I mean? It's so weird.
Yeah, that's why you got to drop in a reference that maybe for something that doesn't even exist and see if people laugh. Yeah. And you'll be like, you thought you were laughing at the reference and you thought you got it, but I just made that up. So you were just laughing at the sound of the joke.
Exactly.
Sometimes as well, like they say a joke in that, that joke cadence you're talking about. And I just kind of think, I don't even get that yet, but everyone's laughing. Are they quicker than me? Did they get that quicker than me?
Yeah, exactly. Where I'm like, man, maybe I'm just out of touch and I have no idea what the popular thing to talk about is. But it's just not. It's just, I don't know. Everybody's kind of hip to it. That's why I love seeing like fringe comics or people. That's why I like to kind of improvise when I'm on stage a lot and do that kind of thing. I don't know if it's the same with like animation and stuff, but like when I remember doing a club and a guy I had opened for had just exploded doing America's Got Talent, and he was headlining for the first time and he couldn't headline, so he did like 25 minutes of material and then spent the rest of the time apologizing, basically like struggling for not doing whatever. But they still lined up afterward because he had been on TV. I mean, like droves of people like lined up, and I thought like if I could just get on AGT for 3 minutes, and then not work. That'd be great. I'd love to do that. Like, why am I busting my ass?
I was doing screenings over the weekend in comedy clubs, and the first one was in Glasgow, and I just came out, and everyone, they had a laugh ready, and it wasn't a stand-up set, and I started talking about, the early days of Salad Fingers, and everyone's kind of like on the edge of laughter, and they kind of start laughing, and I just said, look, I don't know why you're anticipating a joke here, because there's no punchline coming, and then they all burst out laughing at that. Like,
that's great.
This is a really easy gig. If I was a stand-up comedian, I'd be
crushing right now.
I didn't even have any jokes.
Sometimes it's just the pure honesty, though, like in that situation where you're like, listen, I don't know what's going on. And they're like, God damn, he says so. It's so rare to hear people be honest. I think it just takes the audience by surprise where they're like, beautiful. I've got so you got something now that's what was it? Is it Drill Bit you've been working on too? Like some other animated stuff that I've seen online, but you just released new Salad Finger, Drill Bit Head.
Oh yeah, I haven't been working on Drill Bit Head for a while, but that's I did remaster one of the episodes because it came out on the BBC, and I'm not sure if they're even still online. They take down a lot of my work, and because I think they just went in my head. There's a cartoon I make called Jerry Jackson.
I love Jerry Jackson.
It's very unpolitically correct. I feel like the BBC, in the height of the hysteria of cancel anyone who's made a joke that might be a bit offensive. I think that they preempted people combing over all their archives to find something they could be offended by.
Wow.
And they probably thought, Jerry Jackson, we don't need this on here. We can quietly remove this, and then in the process, quietly removed a lot of other stuff that I put up.
That's fucking unbelievable.
I'm not sure that's what happened. That's just me,
But I believe I could see that actually happening, though. I mean, like people don't want to have to deal with any of that stuff for some reason. You know what? It's weird. It's that they don't actually have to deal with it if they just follow like a few steps of people who have avoided it, which is just kind of be quiet, acknowledge that people are upset, and move on. It goes away.
Yeah, no one was upset by my work there, but if people were looking to be upset, then they would try and find. I remember when I released it, you could tell people were trying to put together a plan of how they could be offended by it, but I'm not sure they managed to execute that plan.
Right. Do you when you started out, you were like, I think also one of the first people who kind of like talked about, to me anyway, like mental health and kind of dealt with that kind of stuff. Was that your way of kind of dealing with it as well too, through your art and then kind of just putting it out there? Because I think you had done an interview where basically like, I don't mean to offend anybody by it. Like, this is just me kind of like being creative and putting out my own stuff. But like, did you feel any kind of not pushback from it back in the day, but weird about putting stuff out after a while?
No, I mean, people back in the day, you needed to you didn't offend them. Well, I say back in the day, I'm talking 2005.
Right.
Here. It's not back in anyone's day, but
Right.
in, for the Zoomers out there, that's like the olden times.
Yeah.
I would put stuff out and it had to be really offensive to get any kind of reaction. Like you could have people being killed, and that was the offensive thing back in the day. It was like, very gory, very bloody, or sexual, but probably not pornographic sexual, but
right.
So I had to be really offensive to get people's reaction, but they weren't like today. They want to hunt you down and make sure that you can't make a living if you anger them. But back in the day, it was just like they'd threaten you, call you a dickhead, say they're going to stab you, say they're going to find you, they're going to hunt you down and kill you. But it was not like, right, we're going to ring up his workplace,
right?
No, none of that. It was more straight up, I don't know, physical threats, really.
Yeah.
But in terms of mental health, I don't know. People only just recently, some people messaged me about a Burnt Face Man episode. They said, I usually like your stuff, but I don't think it's funny to make fun of handicapped people. And I'm so confused at who the handicapped person in that episode is.
Right.
Is it Burnt Face Man with his burnt face, or is it because he's not exactly, he's not exactly a likable character. He's
right.
And also it's not exactly something that affects so many people that they've got a burnt face and they're trying to fight crime. It's not like they're a group who've been marginalized or anything. I don't know what he's getting at. Maybe one of the other characters had a bit of a funny voice and he thought that was a mental illness that I was making fun of. But
yeah, the problem with most of that is that it's become a thing that makes people feel good about themselves. So if they can find something in a piece of artwork that they can say something about that no one else has, they'll do it, and they get that little endorphin, like, hey, I'm a good person, I found this thing, and you're like, no, you're just a fucking asshole.
But also, like, then there's that other level of oh no, they're complaining about cancel culture again.
Oh yeah,
and as if they're going to stick you in that box, like you're one of those people because you're complaining about people trying to take your work down. And it's just there's so many boxes you get put in now, and it's like, now I'm probably in a new box, complaining about complaining about cancel culture. There's
I'll also be in that box with you, because I don't like it's the weirdest thing that you have to be put in these boxes too, because I'll say something that sounds like, it's where they've put the right in America, you know what I mean? Like the right wing in America in a box. And I'll say something that maybe like kind of could be put in that box. And then all of a sudden the people on the right will be like, yeah, man, we're with you. And I'm like, you're not, though. You're absolutely not. Like, I'm not in that box.
Yeah,
with
you. A lot of people thought I was with, because I made this series about the news, and it was mocking the news, all the news, there's the liberal media or whatever, conservative, the newspapers, the bloggers, everyone. But, some people thought I was on their side. The conspiracy theorists thought I was on their side because I was mocking the news. And then I'd mock the conspiracy theorists, and then they'd get really angry and they'd be like, oh, now he's just trying to appease the left or whatever. It's just like, I'm just mocking everyone. I'm not on anyone's side here. They assumed that I was actually one of the conspiracy ones. I actually saw it got flagged on YouTube that someone had stolen my video. So I went and checked out the video that had stolen it. You can see on YouTube when someone's nicked a part of your video and put it in theirs. I don't have a problem with that. They were just talking about it, but it was actually conspiracy theorists talking about, they thought, they didn't realize I was making fun of them. They thought I was actually, a conspiracy guy and I was a flat earther, but I was mocking them.
Wow.
They didn't realize.
That's great.
But then, wait till they find out. What if they watch this? They realize they're being sarcastic.
Yeah,
it wasn't hard to work out. It's not exactly like it was subtle.
And that's the thing, though, because I feel like even that kind of satire or irony in comedy, the other side will be like, you can't do that because then you're enabling the people who are too dumb to. And it's like, well, then what are you supposed to fucking do? Like, I don't want to be on anybody's team. I don't want to wear your school colors. I want to be able to criticize and make fun of and kind of have my own point of view without having to, rally for the narrative. It's insane.
I think the difference between me and a lot of other people is that I quite like, that when they get angry at me.
Yeah.
And some people really don't, and they go out of the way to apologize to everyone because they think,
right.
they need to. Maybe it's because I don't have like a really big company giving me money.
Yeah.
Maybe if I did, there would be pressure for me to apologize for things. But
right.
because I don't, and there's no one to take me down in that way.
Yep.
Then people don't complain in the first place.
Yeah.
I feel like if people knew I was making, if I was on Netflix and I was making 20 million, per special or something, then people would start looking for ways to get me taken down just because I think it's the fact that I'm not up there is the reason people don't go after me so much.
Yeah, it is weird. I feel like for most comedians too, it's like a lot of them can ignore it because they're not like, if they don't have like a deal going on or they're not represented by anybody. I sometimes understand when they apologize if they've got a bunch of other people working on a project and they're not, you know what I mean? Like they're responsible for their paycheck. Then I'm like, I kind of get the apology from it. But when it's just like independent, basically contractors like or whatever, like I don't understand the apology thing. If you're not genuinely sorry, don't put out a fucking statement. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's weird as well with the cancel culture because then people think, oh, you're against, you don't like this cancel culture or whatever. You must be on the side of whoever had this. Like I remember when Kramer from Seinfeld had this big racist tirade.
Yeah,
like I'm not defending that. I'm not going to defend that, even though like I'm all about freedom of speech. That wasn't his act. That was him. Right, attacking someone, and it was a real racist tirade. So I'm not defending that.
Right. Yeah, it's a weird thing where people do not like any gray area or nuance. You're either on this side or you're on that side of it, and then like you said, like people will go, oh, there's something more recent than the Kramer thing, but I can't think of it right now. But like they'll be like, oh, then you agree with, but I'm like, no, that's like I didn't even think I had to say that out loud because it's so blatantly fucking obvious that that's wrong. It'd be like anytime you kind of try to navigate any of the woke shit, and then they're like, oh, so then you just agree with Harvey Weinstein, do whatever, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, that's weird. It's weird as well. That's not cancel culture. That's like
indictment,
justice. Yeah, it's the law. It's because there's a guy in because I don't like cancel. It doesn't mean I like Cosby and I think he should come back.
Right.
Exactly. I think R. Kelly should be let off. Right. These are crimes and these are bad things. That's the law has taken care of them.
Exactly. And the funny thing is about it too is like I feel like people always, well, again, they have to stick to their own narrative. So when people write about it, they always do the thing of, well, this person didn't go away. And I've said it a million times, and I don't think cancel culture is about somebody actually literally going away. I think it's the harassment and the constant, trying to get their money taken away or whatever it is that companies have to deal with. Like there's a middle ground in between. They may not go away forever, but there's a part of that, toxic internet culture where they're harassed, their families are harassed. You can't get a word in edgewise. There's no way to really defend yourself. And it could go on. Sometimes it'll go away over a weekend. Sometimes it'll go on for years, and people always wind up building a paper trail. So whatever that is that they annoyed about this time, they didn't get you on. But if you fuck up again, quote unquote, fuck up, they'll bring it back and then they just add to it. So it's never ending.
But what is so funny to me is that even with the R. Kelly situation, he ended up getting convicted and everything else. But when you looked at his sales, his fans didn't change. So his sales didn't drop. They actually increased, which is weird. Yeah, right?
That is weird.
As everybody's persecuting, I think the only thing cancel culture really affects is like that corporate machine. Because they don't want to deal with somebody that's going through the, and I'm not saying, it's separating the art from the artist, right? So if you loved his music, I don't necessarily condone the activities, but like it's two totally different animals.
Well, that's why they. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but with Michael Jackson, there's people introduced some doubt so they could still like his music. They're like, no, I don't believe the narrative. Those songs are too good.
Yeah, exactly. How many touched kids is Billie Jean worth to you? And you're like, well, I do like to dance to it at weddings, so I don't know.
I think people are kind of going, well, R. Kelly, we can live without that, but
yeah, exactly. Like, he's not great. He's not the king of pop. It is kind of funny, and I feel like that's never acknowledged too. There's so much shit that people overlook. The other thing is funny too to me is like, I don't know how you handle it with your friends. People out of the arts, I have a hard time talking to it about because they really don't understand it and don't understand what you're complaining about. Almost the same way where you're like, people think you're in a box with cancel culture, and now you're one of those guys. I can't talk to people who don't do what we do about it because they don't get it.
I did this. I drew this picture and I put it on Twitter, and it was a guy. He was praying to the algorithm of YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook and Twitter. It was all merged into one like lump, and he's praying to it that his post wasn't if it was given the visibility that he hoped. It wasn't that the algorithm didn't remove it from searches because he'd said the wrong thing. And one of the replies was, it was completely taking it, missing the point. It was like basically assuming that I thought that people should be able to say the N-word if they wanted.
Oh my
God. That I don't think these people understand that when you're putting something on YouTube, the new terms and conditions on YouTube state that things like you cannot talk about war, you cannot talk about religion, you cannot talk about this if you want to keep your ad revenue. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like things being hidden from searchers because they drift into topics that are sensitive. Whereas, people who are defending that straight away jump to assuming that I want to say a word that I'm not going to say. I'm never going to say that word. Don't need to use it. There's nothing remotely close to that in my work. But I have had things. I got my TikTok account removed, for having salad fingers with his shirt off, and it was removed for nudity. That was the third strike. I mean, there were two. Guy. There were strikes for other things like violence or whatever. Fair enough. But that was the final blow, and the one that got me kicked off was salad fingers with his shirt off. And I don't know why anyone would want to fight for that kind of restriction. Like, why would you? It's easy to say, I don't want. I don't want the N-word or any kind of racist stuff, and that's fair enough. No one's having a problem with that. But when it comes down to any topic that someone might find sensitive, such as war or death or famine or stuff like that, especially horror stuff, is really going to suffer because we cover subjects that are dark and people are looking for this stuff. But when you get removed from search results just because, and it's not just search results, it's recommendations, because people don't necessarily look for things anymore. They wait for them to be recommended to them.
Absolutely.
And they're only recommended if they avoid these subjects, and the list of subjects is getting longer and longer and longer. And it's got nothing to do with racism or transphobia or sexism or anything like that. It's so much further than that. Those are like 3 subjects that I wouldn't touch anyway. There's, probably 1,000 other subjects you can't talk about. And the list is growing. And that's the thing that concerns me. But I just don't understand why people would defend like that.
I don't know either. And I don't know what I think they think it's just like necessary for the cause. You know what I mean? Because I've had conversations with people about that kind of shit. And their answer is always, well, if that has to go to make this better, then fine. And it's like, well, then you have nothing left.
Yeah. I mean, you remember also YouTube, you can't say swear words anymore. You can't say, I don't know how open this show is to swearing. But,
you can curse no matter what on here. We're fine with it.
Yeah. But if you say the F word, I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to say that. And people like YouTubers who used to be like quite edgy. Basically, it's like saying to Bill Hicks or someone, or it's like saying, "Oh, can you do your show without the F word?" Or can you do it like that was part of his act, wasn't it? The anger.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's necessary. So if you take that away, then you're just diluting it a little bit. And what I'm seeing on YouTube is a lot of modern YouTubers who I used to really like, who had quite, sort of fiery content, just really diluted now, really soft, really gentle, not touching sensitive subjects, and it really kills the art.
Yeah, it does. And you know what I don't understand either is I don't know who wants this. You know what I mean? Whenever I talk to people, because they'll always blame like Gen Z or, millennials, and I'm technically an elder millennial. I think you are too, right? You were born in 83?
Yeah, 83. Yeah. I don't feel like one, but
I don't either. No, I don't identify with it at all, but it is kind of weird. But like those groups or whatever, when I see them at comedy clubs, when I talk to them or whatever, none of them have that kind of feeling toward it. So I don't know. I think when they say there's a small, minority, but they're just a loud majority, you know what I mean? In that respect,
yeah.
Like, I think that's just the case. So I don't understand why it even needs to be addressed or what the point of it all is. But somebody I feel like is making money off of it, and we're not.
Yeah, well, the problem is with that is that eventually most people just kind of go, you know what, I'll stay out of this one. I'll leave this one alone. And so that the only people defending it, the supposed bad thing, are the people who just won't let it go, and they're usually at the right side of the spectrum. Who that's something for them to get angry about. It furthers their cause. So the only people talking are the people both ends of the spectrum, and everyone else is in the middle and just kind of staying quiet because they're just like, I don't need this drama. So then you've got like a silent majority in a way, and who knows what happens? It's like, I mean, you've heard about Dave Chappelle recently, haven't you? And there's a lot. If that were to be removed from Netflix, I'm not saying it would. I don't think it's anyone's threatening that. But if it was to be removed from Netflix, Netflix would see a hell of a lot of people, the silent majority, canceling their subscription and they could not afford that, because that would hit them way harder than the controversy. The vocal minority.
Absolutely. And the most disgusting thing about that too is these so-called journalists or just people in general who have not seen it but have an opinion on it. Like, every time I've gone to read an article, it's like, I stopped watching 5 minutes, and then fuck you. Then what are you writing about it for? You know what I mean? Like, how do you already have an opinion on something that you don't know the context to? I mean, I watched it. I thought it was brilliant. So I just don't understand.
Yeah, and I think the headlines were mostly clickbait of the punchlines. So they were distorting his punchline into factual statement, which is, if you look at it, that's totally twisting his art. Like, he's saying it tongue in cheek. He's not saying it to say, I don't hate transgender, I hate white people. That wasn't meant to be because he hates white people. I feel like that was.
There's a lot of irony and satire and stuff like that. Like, that's the same way with stand-up. There's I hate when people write out somebody's comedy, because even when we have to do it to go on TV, you're just dreading it, because you're like, I don't know, like if Silky's ever told you, but like, basically, like, sometimes before you go on TV, it may not even be that way in Britain, but in America, if you go, they'll like, can you write out your act? And you're like, fuck, I'm gonna get fired, because it's just not good. There's nothing about it in written form, a 5-minute set, that is gonna flow without the inflection. I feel like it's the same way with, like, if somebody describes a cartoon to you 9 times out of 10, for the most part, you're like, that's a visual medium, and you need, you can have somebody describe it to you pretty accurately, but I feel like most times people can't do it. So you're like, what was the drawing? Like regular, like when a noob tries to do it, it's weird.
Well, that's like the same for me, I guess, with submitting scripts. If I'd at some point in my life, I have attempted to submit scripts to people for approval or whatever, to try and get a pilot running or something. They can't get what I'm doing from the script. You can't. Sure. That's not in the script. The script itself is not written for a crew to carry out all these sort of orders and get the lighting right and everything. It's for me. I don't write scripts for crews, so I don't know how to make everything extremely explicit in the script. I write it, so I want to keep it to just to a script that I can follow and make. And even when I do try and explain it more, they just kind of go, oh no, I don't know about that. And it's just you got to see it first. I've made examples already online. You can watch them. And it's always like being reset to zero. It's like, did you not see the like 50 million people who've watched it? It's straight away. You still have to like pitch it like it's a brand new thing.
Yep. I have a thing out where we have proof of concept. Everything you need to have for this project. We have proof of concept. We've already shot a thing. It's already been reviewed. It's gotten, good attention, all this other stuff. And yet I'll still go in and they'll be like, would you want to film? And I'm like, it's there already. I don't want to do anything over, like, you know what I mean? Like everything you need is right here. And they still don't get it. They still want you to do, I don't know if it's stalling or what, but they still want you to do a little bit more. And I'm just like, I just did everything I could possibly do. I don't know what more you want.
I think they're just against the idea of good content. I think they really just don't want to make anything good. They want to make something that's crap. It's on in the background and it's cheap.
Yep. And well, that goes back to what you're saying about the algorithm on TikTok too. It's kind of funny. I don't want to watch dancing videos, but I know that there's something fucked up about the algorithm because when I go on and it says for you, that's what's there. Yeah. Just these generic, like popular song shit. And I'm like, none of the stuff I've liked on TikTok represents any of this. So something's wrong.
Yeah.
It's just weird. Do you find, because I love Jerry Jackson and I like that you did it based on interaction basically with users on the internet, right? Like that was your whole
impetus. Well, that was the original, the inspiration. There was a kid on a forum who would just, he would just send me badly spelt abuse all the time, and he would follow me to different websites. He'd find my accounts. He would have set up accounts with the same name that I had, like with one letter different, so he could pretend to be me and then spam people with that. He was great, and he was like, this guy was following me around like 10 years or something. He never stopped being 13. Like wow. he seemed like a 13-year-old, and I reckon if I emailed him today, he's probably like 28 now. He'll still be like, fuck you, you suck. All spelt wrong.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's why we brought you here. It's John. This is him.
I wanted to confess. Yeah, it's been me the whole time.
How's it?
This is the longest prank ever.
Good.
Thank you. Well, I do what I can. I try to help you along. I love those people always think they're helping you too, by the way. For some reason, they never feel like they're like the antagonist. They're like, no, it's me and you, buddy. And you're like, I don't think so. It's not it at all. So I want to talk a little bit more about salad fingers too, because the advent of that I find interesting. I'd read a long time ago that basically it came about because you were playing with a friend in a band, was it? Or maybe not in a band. You guys were just goofing around.
We were jamming a bit. I think we were, forming a band around that time. We were we weren't playing live or anything. We were just recording songs. But I think, as far as I remember, I was round at my friend's house and I started playing the guitar, and I was just, just getting some chords out, and he just said, I have salad fingers. He just pointed to me and said, you've got salad fingers. And
but what does that even mean?
Exactly. We didn't question it because, back then that was just the climate at the time for the sort of banter. And that's what we call it in England. We call it banter.
Yeah, I like that.
Just messing around, and there's a lot of names being thrown around. He called me Crumpet Lips. That was a good one. I always like that. But that didn't become a character,
right?
It's in one of my videos. It's in one video where he calls me Crumpet Lips, and we start laughing. That was a little before Salad Fingers, so
that's great.
Then I just didn't forget it, and then it was MSN Messenger was the social media of the year. That was the only social media we really had then. So I changed my name because everyone would change their name on MSN Messenger.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it was deep in the emo sort of time where people had put lots of X's and stars, and sometimes the name was so long you couldn't even read it. It was like it'd be like X star X. They're little patterns with the characters,
right?
But so I just called myself Salad Fingers on MSN Messenger, and we were having a little chat and trying to work out exactly what Salad Fingers was.
Wow!
And because I was trying to find new ideas for a cartoon. And that was it, really. We just had a little discussion over MSN Messenger about him being an old guy with long fingers and touching metal.
Right. How much of your own psyche do you think went into Salad Fingers over the course of the time as you were doing it?
I don't know really. If an idea comes to me, then I write it down and I make it, and it's and also we would have kind of brainstorming sessions where we'd sit and just think of situations we could put salad fingers in, and just write as many of those down as possible. Sometimes it'd just be something like salad fingers smells someone's wrist, and that'd be it. That then we'd be like, well, these are just notes in my notebook. Actually, I've got an old notebook knocking around. Let's see if I could just. Who knows? I'll probably pick up one that's got nothing in it now. But this is actually one from 2004.
Oh, nice.
I've got a whole bunch of it. It's good. We're throwing out. Okay, so just a random note here. It just says, "How's your father?" That's just the note. That's what the note says. Wow. I think I must have just thought, salad fingers might refer to, because that "how's your father?" That's like a slang for sex. I think a little bit of "how's your father."
Well, hold on a second. Not here. It's not. Yeah. How's your father means is he okay? Like I didn't know. Why does it mean sex?
I think it means sex. I think it's an outdated slang for sex or a euphemism.
Wow.
But I guess that just kind of occurred to us that
start using that.
A bit of "how's your father?" I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Oh, another one says 1, 2, buckle my shoe. It's just like nonsensical little phrases that might
that's amazing.
Spawn an idea which might become a whole story.
Right.
But yeah, I think "how's your father" refers to sex. It's like a 1970s and before phrase.
Wow, I love that. I had no idea. That's incredible. And what was the was that the first? What was your first animated thing? Like, how did you get into animation?
I used to watch this TV show when I was a kid called Rolf's Cartoon Club, and it was kids back in the 90s had a much better, had a lot more patience, because this was a TV show where you watched a man animate.
Oh wow.
He was
like the Bob Ross of
he was. Yeah, he's not got the greatest reputation anymore. He was a victim. Well, not a victim. He was I don't want to say victim because he was the culprit, and he was a sexual predator of sorts. He went to jail, so he was one of the. What I was going to say is one of the justified cases of cancel culture.
Gotcha.
Some of them are, he actually did something and he was cancelled. I'm sure there'll be Rolf Harris fans who are annoyed at me for saying that. They'll be like, he's innocent. But it's kind of in the Cosby Cosby-ish, but also with younger girls. So yeah.
Okay.
So
I don't know
definitely.
him at all.
So I just got to point out that I do not, I'm not a fan of his actions.
Right.
And in fact, I never liked him as a person either. I always thought he was really creepy and weird, but he taught kids how to animate on this show. And he could draw really fast as well, which was probably he would draw draw something really quick, and then he'd draw 2 frames, and then he'd kind of flip between the 2 frames, and he'd be like, oh, you can do this yourself. Get a book, get a page, get a pencil, and you can flip between these 2 pages. And so that's the first animation was copying him doing those. And that was about, I know the series was in 1990 and 92. So I think I probably watched the 92 one. So I would have been 9 years old.
Wow. And then so you started animating when you were 9, you started practicing that kind of stuff.
Well, I feel like I must have, the first time I did one of those flip books where you did 2 pages, I think it was probably when I was about 9. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I remember doing some, I remember I drew all the time when I was younger, and I still draw cartoons and stuff. And but the animation stuff always kind of like whenever I tried to do it, because my buddy and I wrote a script for an animated cartoon called Human World. Yeah. And we loved doing that kind of stuff. And I tried to, I did it, but it's pure garbage. I tried to do a proof of concept, and it wound up being less of an animation and more of an animatic. And that was as best as I could get it.
Well, those are in the professional world of animation. Those are the hardest parts. The in between bits, the bits that make it the motion smooth. You give those to the lower sort of like animators, because it's just a process, whereas the actual posers themselves are the those are the more difficult parts. Yeah, so you get the tween artists.
Fucking ever.
Well, if you can do two poses, this is not even the area of animation that I'm in, because I don't really do much sort of frame by frame animation. I do a lot of, I build characters as rigs and I move them about as in a similar way to how they would do CG films. They don't, they don't draw them. They just move characters around in rigs and stuff like that. So that's more what I do. But I can do the other one. It's just much more time consuming and much more difficult for me.
Yeah.
So if you're a director of animation, maybe you say you're working on a Disney film, the director or at least the lead animator would probably only draw the major poses, and like so there'd be one guy might be like and then like and then like that, and then the in-between bits, all those bits, they're just drawn by lower animators, because it's a process. Once if you learn that, it's something that is less demanding in terms of artistic sort of talent.
Yeah, I remember thinking at the time when I was doing it, somebody knows how to do this faster than me, because I was literally like I was taking the first time I did it, I was taking photos of the first thing I did and then putting them in this app and then trying to figure, you know what I mean? Like, and all that other stuff, and frame rate I never knew. And but I was like, this should not probably take a normal person this long.
Well, I mean, in anime, a lot of anime, it's most of it is still images, and they just kind of still images with big movements, and I think that's just to save time, really. But not all cartoons need to be fully moving all the time. And there's especially anime, it seems to be very still, and it's more like a series of. It's more like a slideshow in some respects. Then there will be a little bit of motion, but a lot of it is quite still. And even the mouths, they don't sync to the audio. They just kind of go
right
like that, so they can translate it to every language quickly. So I think you can. What I'm saying is, you can do an animated story with. You can go all the way and make it look like Pixar, or you can do South Park or cheap anime, and it's still. I don't know. I think it still works as an animation.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah, the South Park guys. I remember watching that documentary that they did about how they make their, stuff and how they get it out so quickly. And I was like, I mean, I have a Cintiq, but I don't know how they do any of that stuff. But it looks like the equipment looks crazy expensive, and they all look super talented. Like to be able to bang that out.
They use something like 3D Studio Max or something like that. They use something you would not expect, some high-end 3D software to make it look like South Park. And
right.
I think so when you see like the occasionally they will have something like a spaceship come down and it's fully 3D, and you're just like, oh, hold on. They're capable of doing better.
That's not cardboard. Construction paper. Yeah. When you did Flash the first time, was it like, because I remember that being like the big thing at the time. Was that like a hard to learn to do, like learning curve wise, like as opposed to doing
it's I mean, it was a good thing I did learn it, but what you'll realize in Flash is one of those softwares that it by default it looks like crap, and you have to figure out how to make it not look like crap.
Wow.
And see, like there's a bunch of software these days, like Unity, stuff like that. By default, it looks all right. I mean, you can make stuff look good pretty quickly in Unity.
Yeah.
But Flash, by default, it's really difficult to stop it looking like crap. And once you get over that, once you work out a way of making it look less like crap, then it's easy. Then it's quite easy.
Nice. Do you remember the first time it took off where you thought like, holy shit, like this is huge?
Yeah, it wasn't like it was gradual. It was salad fingers. Everything before that, nobody was watching. And and then everyone suddenly, but the cartoon I made before that was called Scribbler. And it was not the fact that I'd put out something better than usual. It's the fact that I'd put it on Newgrounds, and Newgrounds was the place to have things seen. Even if you put something bad out, it would get 500 to 1,000 views in one day, guaranteed. And at the end of the day, if it didn't have a high enough rating, it would be booted off the site. And they called that getting blammed. And that was a really good system, because then the site, you would have to actually reach a standard to even stay on the site. It wasn't like YouTube where everything stays up. It was, or everything,
that's not
it's questionable. If it was good enough, it stayed on the site, and you then got more views, 10,000. But I just knew a guaranteed 1,000 sets of eyes on my work in one day. That was what I was looking at as the drawing for Newgrounds. And it was only my second release that saw a lot more than 1,000 sets of eyes, and that's when it took off.
Do you find that, like, because this was kind of like your gateway and avenue into other aspects of entertainment and doing stuff like that too? Did you ever think about like performing live after that, or kind of doing, like, because you were in comedy clubs, you just said recently, did you ever think about doing stand-up or anything?
Occasionally it has crossed my mind, but I'm not the kind of guy that sort of, I think that I've never been comfortable surrounded by people and telling jokes and stuff. I always think if you were going to do stand-up, you'd probably have that sort of joke telling, or at least humorous. I don't know. I like when I find something funny, I nearly always keep it to myself, and I like it that way.
That's great, though.
I've never been the guy that's had all the friends around, like making everyone laugh and stuff like that. We giggle to each other,
right?
But there's not been much of a performance aspect in that.
That's really interesting, though, because that's kind of how it. I guess that's the difference. Like, that's how it starts. Like, you start it like, for comedians, especially for me when I was younger, it was like I had a small circle of people who knew I was funny, and then I would, like, as I got older, it would kind of expand. And then it became that next step, which is like, I want everybody to know, like, why am I doing? But for you guys, I guess it was more like, no, this is good. My circle's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I'd just doing the shows and having to go on stage every night for a few nights and knowing there'd be a few hundred people watching me. That doesn't create a happiness in me. That creates a worry. And for if I'm doing 3 shows, then I've got 3 days of worry, whereas if I'm not doing shows, then I don't have the worry. I feel like some people, for them it'd be 3 days of everyone's looking at me and I love it, it's fueling everything about me, whereas I just don't have that urge to be the center of attention, and I don't really like it that much. And
it's kind of funny that you put it that way, because it's kind of both. I mean, for me, like literally until I step on stage, my brain is always going, the exit is to the left. You don't have to. You can run.
Okay. I just assumed that everyone else who performs on stage can't wait to get on stage. That's I mean, when I'm doing it, I actually can't wait to get on stage, because as soon as I get on, the sooner the pre-stage nerves go away, which I know are going to disappear when I get on stage.
Right.
And even if I'm doing quite badly, because I'm not a stand-up comedian, so it doesn't matter. There's no, I don't have to. No one's going to say you bombed. All I'm doing is introducing my stuff and telling a story.
Right.
But there is 15 minutes of me talking, and if everyone sits there in silence, then it is slightly more awkward. But
you're naturally funny anyway. You know what I mean? So even if your cadence or whatever, like you said, those people were laughing at you, it's because you have like a rhythm to the way you talk, and plus your mind is always thinking funny because you draw funny stuff.
I made sure that there was no script for me going on stage, because then if there was, I'd get halfway through a bit and realize I'd missed part of it. And so I try and remember what I'm saying from the previous night. And sometimes someone in the audience will just throw me off immediately, and I'll forget everything that's happened.
Right.
And I'll just start waffling. That happened in Edinburgh, actually. But then other times I remember where I am and I tell the story quite sort of legibly. But I'm much more comfortable waking up and making stuff in my room than I am standing on a stage and entertaining people.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you do it, man, because it's phenomenal.
I apologize, but I got to run. I had a hard out like 5 minutes ago, but it was such a pleasure to meet you, David. And
yeah, nice to meet you too.
if you could please just help John through the end of this because he doesn't like the ending. So
all right, you know what?
That's no pressure to put on the guest.
You don't like the ending? Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah.
There you go. We're in the moment, so it's no problem.
Great.
All right. Thanks so much, David. And see you all soon. This was so amazing.
Tom leaves. I just start flailing.
See you later. Bye.
Like, how do I? That's hilarious, man. What I was gonna say before, do you remember was it always kind of your own monetization when you were doing this kind of stuff, or do you remember a point where like another company wound up paying you to do your work or to do your art or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, there was a few times when companies have got involved. Newgrounds were the first people. They sponsored me for a while. That was good. Yeah, that was probably the best deal I ever had. They were just, paying me to put stuff on their platform. But I don't think I was doing it quick enough. I think maybe they would have liked me to be a bit quicker on that. I started taking extra time making stuff, and I kind of felt bad about having them give me a bunch of money for not putting stuff on there. But
wow, so even back then they were like really worried about how much, because I feel like now more than ever, platforms and everything else is like you have to post every fucking day. You have to have content every day.
Oh no, they weren't saying that. I was just feeling bad about it because they were giving me a whole bunch of money, and I was just I wasn't posting that regularly. But maybe the fact that I'd already posted a bunch on there, and I was always talking about Newgrounds, maybe they just were just happy to support me.
Yeah. But, and plus the quality of the work was always good, regardless of how frequently you did it. When you did post something, it was excellent.
Oh well, I hope so. And it was just about continuing to do what I do without sort of sacrificing anything. What I love about Newgrounds is they never took stuff down. They had controversial stuff on their site that they would only take stuff down if it was actually illegal. I remember they had because they used to have games on Newgrounds, and one of the games that caused a bit of controversy was Columbine shootout.
I was just gonna say, I remember.
Yeah, that wasn't that didn't get taken down. They were, they were pretty strong on anti-censorship. So I remember that was what was offensive back in the day.
Right. I remember when that popped out though, and I was like, holy shit! But yeah, I was impressed they didn't take it down.
Yeah. Because there was a guy as well on Newgrounds who did a shooting, and he had animated what he was going to do before he did it, put it on Newgrounds, and then he went and did it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, that was I don't think Newgrounds were keen to promote that kind of connection, but
yeah, they didn't put it out there.
Well, I mean, it's just the same as today. A guy putting a YouTube video out explaining what he's going to do and then going and do it. Yeah, but that was before YouTube, so I guess Newgrounds was his platform. But as a guy who was
right.
Yeah.
Do you think it'll ever swing back the other way in terms of like all the restrictions that YouTube puts up and TikTok? Do you think it's a temporary thing, or do you think it's only going to get worse?
I really don't know where it's going to go. I think what happened is the internet didn't used to be full. I remember the first time I saw someone on one of my videos say I'm 10 years old or something. I think, what's a 10-year-old doing on the internet? But apparently that's the internet these days, isn't it? It's full of kids and
people who are way too old to be using the internet. Yeah,
that's it. When in 2004, I feel like it was like 16 to 35. It tended to be the internet sort of like age, maybe a few people who are older, but it didn't seem like there's a lot of really young kids on there because you couldn't just turn your phone on and start clicking stuff. You had to actually, get a modem and connect to the internet, and there wasn't much stuff for kids on there anyway. So
that's a good point. Yeah, now it's marketed to everybody, and you never know who the fuck you're talking to half the time.
But I see kids all the time commenting on my videos. YouTube doesn't tell you the demographics because it doesn't say anything below 13 because it says you're not allowed to have a YouTube account unless you're over 13. But you can tell by the comments that there's some really young kids watching Salad Fingers. Wow. I think that's what YouTube are aware of. I don't blame YouTube. I don't even blame the companies, because I feel like people put pressure on the companies to take their adverts off of certain videos on YouTube. So the companies pressure YouTube. So I feel like it's people. It's not the companies or YouTube. It's pressure from people.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like as long as there's a way of putting stuff out there, no one's entitled to have a platform built for them that's free that they can put their stuff on, because that didn't exist when I was first putting stuff on the internet. There were no free platforms to put your videos out, and you had to upload it to your own web space. And as long as that's an option, then it's not censorship, I don't think. If you can actually put it up somewhere and you're not going to be arrested, then I don't think it's censorship.
I did always find it interesting that, like, and I would keep saying the phrase back in the day. I don't know why it's playing on a loop in my head, but like, the whole thing was having a website that everybody could find you at. And then all these social media platforms came forward and they were like, ditch the website, just put your shit on our site and blow it up or whatever. But now, because of the algorithms, it's fucking useless, because unless you pay to advertise on Facebook or something like that, you're not gonna, people aren't gonna see your shit.
Yeah. In a way, there's no good old days, because there's nothing they had back then that we don't have now.
Right.
Or we had back then. Like gore has gotten a lot more gorier. Everything's got more hardcore. If you want to find it, it's gotten way more crazy. 4chan, there was nothing as messed up as 4chan when I was back in the day, but I mean, maybe collectively there wasn't, but probably spread out all over the internet there was. But if you want fucked up shit, you can find it.
Yes.
And I wasn't making money off of salad fingers for the first. I mean, I was selling T-shirts, but there was no ad revenue for the first few years. There was no monetization in that way. You had to make a product. So,
were you doing voiceover work in the meantime before that? Like, how were you making ends meet?
No, not often do I get asked for voice work. Maybe I need to put myself out there. But
I know you did Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, that was just a friend. That was just Flying Lotus gave me the sort of option to put my voice in there. There was no deal with, Take-Two Interactive. Who makes that? Rockstar.
Rockstar, yeah.
But I was in a later one. Yeah, there was no contract or anything in the original one. I did do another voice for it, and I remember I had to sign about 6 contracts just to do one line of dialogue.
My god!
It was like, and then I thought I'd done them all, and then there'd be like 6 more contracts. Just like, just use it. I mean, great, you're going to pay me, but
yeah.
But I hate to think what would happen if I did a few characters or something.
Right, Jesus Christ, you'd be doing more paperwork than you did the voiceover work.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
But yeah, I don't do a lot of voice acting like freelance. I usually do it when I'm asked. I don't go out looking for it, but I do like doing that, so I'd like to do more of that. But no, not back in the day. I was not doing that. Back in the day, I said it again. I was at university, and I left university because I didn't enjoy it, and I didn't feel it was getting me anywhere. And I'd started selling Salad Fingers merchandise, so I was just. I mean, I didn't realize. That could have gone bad, because I could have been one of those passing fads, and it could have all dried up in a couple of months. And luckily it wasn't, but that could have been dangerous, quitting university that abruptly.
Right. Yeah, it worked out well though.
Yeah. I mean, it gave me time to make more stuff and stay in people's minds, I guess.
Well, listen, I've kept you for an hour, but I got 2 more questions left. Can you answer those 2? And then
yeah.
Great. So we ask these of everybody that comes onto the show. The first one being, if you go back in time and talk to your younger self, what kind of advice would you give yourself today that would help you?
I would say trademark Salad Fingers.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I have trademarked it now, but I must have seen. I predict a few $100,000 worth of fake merchandise has been sold, and it would have been nice to a capital. Yeah. Anytime, I mean, probably more. Well, yeah, a few 100,000, I think, because anytime throughout the last 15 years I've looked on eBay, there's been bootleg Salad Fingers shirts, and there's always a new line of them. It always says like 2,000 sold. There's so I know for a fact that and it's very difficult to persuade eBay that it's my intellectual property. They don't want to hear it.
Yeah, no, they don't give a shit.
Unless you've got a trademark, and if you've got a trademark, then they get scared because they think you can sue them. So I should have done that straight away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just fake it and hope you don't have to get any lawyers.
I don't know. I mean, I'm happy with how things turned out. Lots of small things I would have done. Back up everything every day. Burn everything you ever make to a disk.
Yeah,
and put it in a folder.
Not that I just started doing it, but like I was doing it gradually here and there, and kind of when I remember to do it. And as of like, COVID time or whatever, for some reason I was like, I have the time now. I need to fucking get everything. And I bought like hard drives and stuff, and actually started organizing video clips, material, all that other stuff, just, that I'd never really bothered to do.
But don't you always have that one video or one file or picture or something, and you know exactly the window of time that you made it, and you're just like, why can't I find anything between like May and August 2007? What happened there? Was there I've got nothing of anything from there. Where's it all gone? Searching hard drives. Some of the hard drives don't even wake up when you turn them on. You're just like, it's on this one, isn't it? It's on this one.
Yeah, exactly. I know. And it's always went like I've had that happen recently where like I'll go audition for a thing and I have the perfect setup or video or whatever the hell it is, and it's fucking, I can't find it anywhere. Not on my iPhones, not on the iCloud, any of that shit. And I'm like, I know it exists. It drives me crazy.
I do this as well. Every few years I go back and have a relook. I'll be like, nah, there's definitely a CD I could have put it on. I've got big folders worth of CDs, but I didn't back up enough. I've lost plenty of stuff. I mean, I've had like, I had a computer make smoke once when I'd gotten a wire, I'd opened it up and I'd changed 2 wires, and then I'd used the wrong wire, and two hard drives set on fire, and I couldn't recover anything from them.
Oh my God.
I had cartoons that I hadn't released on there. I had art, music that will never be seen again. I still got the hard drives, and they still smell like burnt plastic.
Wow. And just in case somebody figures out how to redo those hard drives.
Well, I actually I posted the hard drive to a FBI approved data recovery company, and they were like, we can't get anything off of this. But they gave me a file listing. They could get a file listing. So I thought, one day in the future, there's going to be some company that can restore hard drives. And it would have cost me $1,500 to do it. Wow. But they couldn't do it, so they posted it back to me. I've still got the hard drive, and it still smells burnt.
That's so funny, dude, because I have an iPhone that literally, for whatever reason that even Apple can't explain, I was just using it one day, didn't drop it, didn't do anything to it. It fucking went blacked out, and then I could never get it back on. Nothing I could do. And it had and I hadn't, for some reason, hadn't backed it up. That was back in the day when you would plug it in and then, whatever. I never did it. And I couldn't plug it in. I couldn't get anything off it. And I tried to get Apple to help, and they were like, no, we're not going to get into your phone. It's blah, 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 or whatever. So then I downloaded like 3 separate, pieces of software. And like each one of them got a little bit of my shit back, but not all of it. But like, it was like, it took hours to like drag whatever it could out of that, Apple hard drive. And it got a little bit. I got some stuff back, but I remember I lost stand-up tapes, drawings, stuff I needed for whatever, like that I just had on that phone because I carried it around with me, and I still have it just in case.
Yeah, exactly. Keep it.
And it's been years.
If you could get some stuff off of it, then you can get some other stuff off of it.
Right. And I was like, I'm just not paying. That was my thing the whole time. I was like, I had to pay for this too. I bought 3 different kinds of whatever, and each one got a little bit more out of it. And then I was like, I'm not buying the right one. There's one out there that can rip it up.
There's probably some company out there, they have those little machines, and they can they look in with a microscope, and they do that. Someone's going to be able to do that.
I agree. And then the last question I've got for you: what in your life had to end for you to wind up where you are now?
drinking Coca-Cola. I used to drink a hell of a lot of Coca-Cola, like a ridiculous amount of Coca-Cola. My teeth aren't that great right at the back. I had some fill-ins, but I feel like the amount of cola I was drinking and the speed I was drinking it as well, I think some sort of diabetes or heart condition might have caught up with me if I was still doing it at that rate.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I had to taper it off too. And I used to make the excuse, like, I only drink Coke when I have a meal, and I ate a lot. Everything was a meal. I'm like, soda with this, and yeah.
Nowadays, when I drink a cola, I will have a few mouthful of it, and then it'll feel like like I've taken a pill or something. You get that sudden rush of just like euphoric energy, and then just like an hour later, just this little depression crash.
Yes. I'd feel shitty. And sometimes my friends would be like, "Oh, have you had soda today?" And I'd be like, "Oh yeah, no, I forgot."
Just also getting really angry for no reason. Just why am I so angry? Because I'm having a sugar crash. That's why. I've got to stop doing it. And also having so much sugar one day that I would have a hangover for a whole day from the sugar.
Wow.
So intense. I definitely had to cut down on the sugar almost entirely.
Yeah, that's incredible, because that's like, people don't think that that's like a real thing, but like I would get like massive fucking migraines.
Yeah. And I don't think like I've ever been addicted to anything else. Like I definitely think I've been addicted to sugar, and maybe I still am. Maybe I try and keep it to a low, but I don't think I've ever found anything else remotely addictive, but sugar, that's the one.
I know. It's real. And it goes with it's like, you know what I equated it to at one point, which helped me like slow down, was I was saying the same things about soda that people say about smoking. Oh, I like to do it after me or during a meal or whatever. Like I'd always be like the same thing. Like, oh, I just like to drink it when I'm with, whatever. And with people, or like when I'm having pizza or when I'm having whatever. And then it was like, I would just do it all the fucking time.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. And it's delicious. And, but it's weird because there's not many drinks that don't have sugar in, apart from coffee without sugar.
Yeah.
And water. There aren't many options. Everything's got some sort of sugar. Even milk's got sugar in it, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Everything's got some sort of sugar in. So if you want to keep drinking stuff all the time, see, I drink a lot of sparkling water. There's no sugar in that. But
do you do it because the bubbles like to confuse your brain to make you think like you're drinking soda? I gotta drink the flavored sparkling water so that it like feels like I'm drinking soda.
I think so. I think that's it. Because if there's a glass of water next to me, I'll just ignore it. But if there's a bottle of sparkling water next to me, I'll just keep drinking it.
Yeah, same. Wow, that's crazy. Do you want to plug your the new stuff you got coming out, the slippers and the?
Yeah, these are out. Wait, hold on.
Oh, they're out.
I should be wearing them. Yeah, they are out. They're on the store. You can buy salad fingers, slippers.
Oh, I can't. I'm gonna buy those immediately.
I'm putting them on. I'll have to show you what they look like.
Yeah. Look, that's fantastic.
Salad fingers slippers, really comfortable, really nice.
So fucking cool.
So I got so many spongy, cool things, plushy things. But there's another one that's the salad fingers flesh boy guy. This one,
love it.
This one temporarily out of stock, but it's coming back. Well, a similar one's coming back. This was a limited edition one. There's another one coming, and it's going to have like little puppets as well on it.
That's awesome.
But yeah, you can move. This is a good thing about this is you can bend him.
Yeah. That's so great, man.
Hubert Cumberdale, the Flesh Boy.
Yeah.
These good merch.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really do appreciate it. And where can people find you? What's that? I love that.
Salad Fingers hat. I don't even know if this one's still available. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Go and have a look. They can find it at saladfingersstore.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. Just stick around for 2 more seconds.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for having me.
Dystopia tonight.